Hi, and welcome back. So today I'm going to continue talking on about the processes of resilience. So last week I spoke about persistence, and this week I'm going to talk about resistance. So it would be easy to say that, obviously resistance is one of the factors that's associated with resilience. So when you're under pressure, your ability to resist that pressure is going to have an association or relationship with your ability to persevere, to persist, and to be able to come out the other side with the outcomes that you want, or some growth, or to be able to have not been forced into change because of the pressure that you're under. So I talk a lot about my time in the military. So when I was doing selection, which is obviously a very prominent piece where you're under a lot of challenge, you're under a lot of adversity, and where people are deliberately imposing stress upon you just to see how much you can tolerate. So they're testing your ability to resist stress and persist on under that level of stress so you can get to the end. And it's a 3-week period where you are under a huge amount of pressure or stress. So you are being sleep deprived, you're being food deprived, you're doing a lot of physical work, you're very fatigued, you're very sort of mentally fatigued, it's difficult to stay awake, it's difficult to make good decisions, and you're being assessed the whole time. So you're constantly in your own head about your performance. And from my experience is that most of the time I figured everything I did wrong. So I was expecting this huge long list of things that I had gotten wrong to be presented to me at the end, but fortunately it didn't happen. I was able to get through it. But during the process of selection, it was my ability to resist the pressure that I was under. So everyone has the innate ability or an individual capacity to resist against pressure or stress. So the more that we expose ourselves to pressure or stress or to challenge or adversity or whatever it is within our context, it doesn't necessarily have to be a military selection, it could be within your work environment, it could be within sport, it could be parenting, it could be any sort of environment. As a parent, I know how much pressure kids can put on you and how difficult it is to resist the amount of stress they apply. So during the selection course, there's periods where I'm at risk of having my capacity breached. So the amount of stress or pressure that I'm put under, or through sleep deprivation or not having food or being forced to do such an increase in the volume of work that I normally do, it gets towards my tolerance or my capacity for external stress. So once that's close to breaching my capacity, then my ability to resist is compromised. And if I can't resist, then I'm going to be forced into some sort of change. So there'll be an internal change. Okay, it could be mentally sort of losing hope that I'm going to be able to finish this, and then I might withdraw. So once I'm getting close to my individual capacity, it's the systems that are around me. So I've spoken about an ecosystem before. So it's the things that are around me that I can leverage to try and sort of bump up my capacity in the short term so that I continue on. So it's the people that I'm with. So how I have my relationships with them, how I interact with them, that can either detract from me. So some of them might take from me, or that might make life harder, especially if we have real negative interactions with them. And this is the people that I'm working closely with. That's going to make life a little bit more difficult. That's going to increase the stress rather than increase my capacity. Where if I'm having really good interactions with them, we're using a little bit of humor, we're kind of enjoying being in each other's company, then we're going to bump up each other's ability to resist, okay, or our tolerance for this stress. So we're in an environment where everyone outside of our small circle of candidates is imposing pressure or stress on us. So I can't leverage off them. I've got to leverage off this very tight sort of microsystem that I'm in during this period. So I've got to be able to leverage those relationships. I kind of leverage what sleep I think I'm going to get, so I use that for some of my forecasting, because I know once I sleep then I can increase my ability to be able to resist for the next day. But I've got to be able to utilize both everything I have internally and everything externally within that greater ecosystem, or in this case a micro ecosystem, to be able to get through the selection piece or resist all this pressure so I can get to the end without being forced into a change. And if we're forced into change, then it's usually more discomfort or sort of an increase in negative emotion, and we just don't want to go into that. So during the period of the selection course, I was successfully able to resist, persisted through, and based around some of the other attributes I had, I got to the end and I successfully completed it. So like I said, this is not just isolated to these sort of things. Within work environments, you've got to be able to resist periods where you're under increased pressure, and it's how you leverage everyone or everything within that environment, all the factors in there. So the people you work with, the resources you have access to, the information that you can get to help you. It's the family and the support systems you've got there. It's your social networks. It's all these other things that increase your capacity to resist, because once that capacity has been breached and your ability has been compromised, then you're going to be forced into that change. So when you look at your ecosystem, start to think about whether the people that you are working with, the people that you're living with, when you're thinking about your work relationships, your social relationships, your home relationships, all these sort of things, are they providing to you to increase your capacity to resist when things are difficult, or are they taking away from you and detracting from your ability to resist? Are they what you're trying to resist for most of your time? Because let's be honest, not everyone works in an environment where they really love what they do. Not everyone is in a relationship where they go home and they feel like they're being rejuvenated in that relationship. Hey, we don't all have social circles where we feel like those people are helping us improve our capacity to resist. And then beyond that, it's all the things within our community, so things that we have access to there. So for kids, schooling can be something that either gives or takes when it comes to their ability to resist. It's the healthcare that we have access to, it's the community facilities we have access to, things like sport, things like recreational activities, information, all these sort of things. All these factors actually contribute to our ability to increase our ability to resist when it comes to resilience and mental strength. And then there's all our internal factors. So a lot of them are actually regulated by the behaviours that we do, the habits that we have, the way that we conduct our lifestyle. So like I said before, if your behaviours are actually conducive to increasing your ability to resist, then that's going to increase your mental strength and your resilience. Where if your behaviours are sort of where you treat yourself like a trash can, then that's going to degrade your ability to resist. So when you consider your mental strength and resilience as your ability to resist external stresses, start to think about the behaviours that you have, what you need to change if you need to be able to improve your ability to increase your own individual ability to resist, and then think about all the other factors within your ecosystem, both within your sort of micro ecosystem, which is those people that are directly around you, and then the sort of greater macro ecosystem, which is all the things that you have access to, the resources, barriers to those resources, and what you can use to increase your ability to resist. So I hope that gives you a little bit of understanding on the next process of increasing your mental strength and resilience, or what's associated to having greater resilience. Okay, hope it gives you something to think about. You can start to see where you can improve and the areas that there's opportunity, areas where you need to sort of clean up, so that you can start to head in the right direction. And I look forward to the next time.